welcome to the For Fun of Knit podcast. My name is Linda and I am coming to you from South Surrey, British Columbia, which is just outside of Vancouver, Canada, and right on the US border next to Blaine. So there you go. For those of you that are new, welcome. Thank you for giving this channel a little viewing. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. It's so much fun to be podcasting or recording for you again today. My friends and I did release a recording January 24th. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend you take a look. We fashion, we have a bit of a fashion show, and we show 36 different sweaters that we knit throughout the years. So if you're looking for inspiration, that is a great video to take a look at. This is going back to the traditional format, but before I get into anything knitting, I got a few things that I have to cover off. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for all your wonderful comments and your support and your encouragement and your kindness. It absolutely makes any editing challenges well worth it to produce a video. As you know or may not know, I am not a professional. I am not a maker that has a business, so I don't make project bags, I don't dye yarn, I don't have a farm. This is strictly for the fun of knitting and other crafts like crochet and spinning. So anything fiber related, this is a nice corner to be in. So I do it just for fun, and I thoroughly get a kick out of inspiring all of you, because all of you inspire me. Just as much as when I get together with my friends on Monday afternoons. They are a wealth of inspiration, and trust me, my queue of knitting every Monday is complete chaos because we just feed off of each other, and it's so much fun to see the different yarns and the different colors and the different patterns and who's interested in what, and then it just all becomes this symbiotic, oh my gosh, we have to knit all the things. And I think that was kind of the feeling of the fashion show as well from the comments. It was, I read a lot of comments about, oh, I'm adding something to my queue, or now I know what I need to knit next. And so that was a lot of fun. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for, one, continuing to watch, and two, for commenting. I love all the comments. I was tardy as usual in responding, but I did respond to them all. So I love the conversations that we get to have in this sort of virtual friendship that we have. So that's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is I do have a bit of an agenda. So I'm actually, I know, drum roll, going to announce the winners of the All Creatures Great and Small MAL and the Festive Sweater MAL for 2024, two make-alongs that I theoretically hosted on Ravelry and Instagram that I did not probably look at for the most part of the year. So I think a big learning for me in 2025 is don't host any make-alongs, Linda. You're a terrible hostess. So I'm a terrible host. What can I tell you? But that said, we're going to announce the winners for last year. So if you're watching, stay tuned for the names that won. In addition to that, going to go over some finished objects, only one WIP, I think, or no, three works in progress. I have to think about that now. 3 current works in progress, and then a little bit of what's next on my needles, because I'm sort of humming and hawing as to what I want to cast on next. So in that light, let's get right started with what am I wearing? Let's start with that. So I didn't have a chance to show off this finished object, which is my Aura vest from Irene. And I'm just going to come a little closer. Strange camera angle, I apologize for that. But this is the Aura vest by Irene Lynn. And it is an oversized vest that is knit in a DK weight. And I will tell you, as soon as I figure out what I did with it, what did I do with the yarn that I am knitting this in? Oh, hold that thought. The yarn that I am using, or I used, was this Merino Classic DK weight yarn from Cacha Yarns, which is a Spanish commercial yarn producer. It is a superwash, and I say superwash because it is 50%, I think it's 55%, oh no, 52% wool and 48% acrylic. This is an amazing, affordable yarn. I will knit with this 10 times over again. I love it. It is light, it is bouncy, it has a wool feel, not an acrylic plastic feel. Yet it's very cost effective. It comes in a host of colors, from brights to more muted types of colors. And it is, how much do you get in this? Does it tell me how many yards? You get 262 yards of skein. So a little bit more than your indie dyed yarn usually for a DK. And it's at a 22-inch gauge, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's at a 22-inch gauge. So this is the yarn that I decided to use because I was in Spain when I knit it. I knit the size 2. What else can I tell you about this? The needle sizes that are called for in the pattern are 4mm and 3.5. So 3.5 for the ribbing and the hem, and then 4 for the actual lace work. The actual pattern itself requires 11 inches of positive ease. I went with a size that gave me 9. That's more my comfort zone. Turned out really well. I love the fit. I love the ease of it. The drape is quite nice. Given that it's 48% acrylic, it really didn't block any differently than when I knit it. It did loosen up a little bit in the length, but not in the width. So the lace opened up, which was nice, but not too much. If I had used a superwash merino, it probably would have grown quite a bit, and that may or may not have been a good thing. So, and I'll tell you why. So this I chose, in this particular one, I chose a size 2. I did make a modification. The only modification I made is I didn't put the actual ribbing on both arms. And the reason is I'm quite broad. Well, I think we all think we're broad-shouldered, but I don't know. But I do believe I am somewhat normal, square, broad-shouldered. And I know that if I had put a little edge on this sleeve, it would have come out just like soldiers' shoulder pads, straight out. And then I would have had this a visual, even wider piece visually at the top. That's not so bad, but I'm already quite broad, and so this is why, while I absolutely love this vest, did I show you a really close up of the pattern? Like, I love Irene Lynn is so talented. Look at this beautiful lace work. And this is the actual shoulder seam that you are then supposed to pick up stitches and add more ribbing over on this side and come all the way down and around. I just opted not to do that, and here's why. I'm just going to change the angle here a little bit on my camera. The reason being is this. Okay, so here am I. This is how it sits, and I find this visually to make me look wider. Ideally, in a vest, I think for me, and I'm going to measure this when I'm off camera, just having a little less at the shoulder, being right at my natural shoulder, just pulls it all in a bit more. Everything else can stay the same, but it's just that bit at the shoulders that when it sticks out like this, and this is without the seams, I just feel it makes me look chunkier. So that's just a Linda-ism. It's just a Linda-ism. Otherwise, it's an absolutely beautiful pattern. I chose, crazily enough, to do a tubular bind off on my ribbing for the neckline as well as for the hem. And I have to say it makes a beautiful finish. It really does. And I found it kind of therapeutic. I'm no longer afraid of tubular bind off. I will use that again and again in certain garments for sure. I love the stretch. I love the finish. I think it looks nicely tailored. When I'm making a vest, I will pay more attention to the width of the shoulders because I do feel that I could take some of this width off and I'd be happier with the fit. So I'm probably not going to wear this too much. As a matter of fact, I think I'm trying to gift it to somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who wants this sort of oyster color. That is the other reason I'm not in love with this vest. I love the pattern. I am going to knit this again. I love this color, but not on me. I don't know what it is. I just prefer a dark vest with a light shirt. I don't think I'm as happy with a lighter color vest. I don't know. Or maybe it's just the oyster. And funny, I actually made what was it? I made a cravat last summer. So if you saw last week's video, you did not see me in my cravat, my Caitlin Hunter cravat, because I gifted it to my sister. I made it in sort of a silvery mushroom brown color and cream accents. I love knitting with it. I love the color. I think it's a classy combination. Didn't like it on me. So there you go. So love the vest or a vest by Irene Lynn. Highly recommend this pattern. I recommend anything that she designs. I'm going to make this again in a color more appropriate to me. So that was what I am wearing. Now I'm going to do a quick wardrobe change because I want to show you a sweater that I completely forgot about, that we did not parade 2 weeks ago because I completely forgot about this sweater. So I just want to show it to you really quickly. I'll be right back. So this is the Halu sweater by Caitlin Hunter. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. If you want to know about the sweater and all the deets, you can go to episode number 55. I think I cover it off there. But this sweater is an absolute favorite. It is made with Holst Super Soft in the color Plaster, held double, along with one strand of Knitting for Olive silk mohair in the color Ballerina. And it is, I just love it. I'm in love with this sweater. I love everything about it. I can't believe I forgot it. And the reason I forgot about it is I didn't put the finish date in Ravelry. So when I sorted all my projects, it didn't come up. It was finished, but it didn't have a finished in 2024. So it didn't come up and I forgot. In my great planning, I forgot about the sweater. So I just wanted to show you this sweater. So it didn't get forgotten because it's worth it. It is an oversized, sort of intricate, because it's got baubles and lace, but it is a bougie sweatshirt and I love it. I think it's a fabulous garment for any wardrobe. And yeah, so I highly recommend it. And I would definitely knit with, I wasn't 100% sold on the Super Soft when I first knit with this, but now I am, as I am paying more attention to the cost of everything now. It's unfortunate that our Canadian dollar is not doing very well and things are getting very, very expensive for us across the line. So I'll be shopping closer to home for sure. That said, this is Danish yarn. It's a very, very reasonable price point and it gives a very good garment. So whether you hold it single or double, it seems to be a versatile type of yarn. So I've enjoyed knitting with it and I would definitely knit with it again. And I bought a cone the first time. So I like that, buying a cone. Shipping might be a little bit difficult when it's a cone. However, highly recommend it. So that was Super Soft. So this was my Halu by Caitlin Hunter. So I just wanted to add that in there. So now, drum roll, let's talk about the winners for the Festive Sweater MAL and the All Creatures Great and Small. So the All Creatures Great and Small on Ravelry, we had 112 entries and only 8 entries on Instagram. Crazy, but that said, I'm going to post below who the winners are. So for the All Creatures Great and Small from Instagram, it was Berta Mayer. Congratulations. And you did that grouping of bunnies. Oh, lovely. Under All Creatures Great and Small, Buckaroo, you were one of the winners. You did an interlac kitty. And I hope I'm not gonna say this properly, but the third winner for the All Creatures Great and Small was Bev Joy K, all one word. So Bev Joy with the last letter K. And Bev did a Winnie the Pooh stuffy, which was a Claire Garland pattern, and I thought it was just beautiful. So those were the random number generator winners for the All Creatures Great and Small. So congratulations, and thank you so much for participating. Like I said, I'm a terrible make-along host. For the Festive Yoke MAL, we had very few entries. We had 18 entries on Ravelry, and I think we had 6 or 8 on, no, not even 6 or 8. I think we had 3. I think we had 3 on Instagram. So for Ravelry, the winner is Small Town P-Town. So congratulations, Small Town P-Town. Again, I'll put the name down here. And the winner from Instagram was Knit, Read, Play. So congratulations to all of you. I don't know your names. I'm terribly sorry, but those were your Instagram or Ravelry handles. So for those, if you are one of the winners, please direct message me on Instagram at the For Fun of Knit with 2 T's, or email me at the For Fun of Knit 1 T, For Fun of Knit Vlog, VLOG, at gmail.com. I'll put that below. Give me your details, and you all have won a gifted pattern off of Ravelry up to approximately $10 Canadian, give or take. So we'll figure that out. But by all means, all of you are winners of a free pattern. Thank you so much for participating in the knit along. I greatly appreciate it, even though, like I said, I wasn't a very good hostess. So I didn't even finish my own sweater. Anyway, that was the knit alongs for 2024, and that is something for 2025 I'm not doing. I'm not doing any knit alongs, not because they're not fun, not because they're not worth doing. It's just I'm not very organized, apparently. Too much going on. So don't want to put you through that. Excellent. So that was the winners. Now on to some works in progress. I'm going to show you something totally abstract. This is, I just want to show you this. I had a whole bunch of scrap yarn that I didn't know what to do with, so I made a granny square, and I'm just using that as a mug rug on my desk. There you go. I'm not counting that as a finished object, but I did do that. So that's one thing. So let's talk about, oh no, I have one more finished object. I'm sorry. One more finished object. I forgot about this. Oh, how could I forget about this? I made a pair of, look at these socks. Oh my goodness, I love these. These are the Mountain Walk Chunky socks. But I think it's made by Florence. Made by Florence. And my friend Irene, one of the ladies from the fashion show, was knitting these, and they're DK weight. In my case, I've held everything double. I absolutely love these. What is fun about them is I actually did the cuff from the Summer Lee Cider House socks. I used her cuff pattern, holding my yarns double, and then I did the leg as per pattern, except with these ones, I cast on 56 stitches by mistake because I was thinking about a different pattern. And I cast on 56, and my size only required 48. So when I got down to the heel, I reduced a few stitches and then reduced the gusset all the way to the right number, 48 stitches, and went down, which was terrific. So they still fit. They're kind of slouchy on me in the leg because they're a little bit big in the leg, slouchy, but they fit nicely in the foot. These are definitely Croc socks because I wear Crocs all the time. So these are Crocs or house socks, and oh, I absolutely love them. So the yarns that I held together, I couldn't tell you. I held one that was a Les Garçons BFL sock, which is 75% BFL, 25% nylon, as well as a Sweet Sparrow sock yarn with a tweed. So one was a tweed and one was not. They were very similar, aqua and brown and navy blue sort of speckled type of socks, but both of them were, I would say they were a fine fingering. So the BFL from Les Garçons is lovely, but it's quite fine. And so in my mind, I'd have to go down to a 2.0 millimeter needle to just knit a regular pair of socks. But pairing those two yarns together to make a DK sock was the perfect solution. So I have these I know I say that word all the time. I don't care. I have a fantastic pair of socks that I thoroughly enjoy. They must be my most comfortable socks to date. So that now leads me into works in progress and into my next pair of socks, which is in my Tangled Stitch project bag by Kelly O'Connor from the Tangled Stitch. And oh, it's not in my bag. These are the yarns that I'm using. I'm using Black Cat Custom Yarns. This is their workhorse sock in a one-of-a-kind colorway, which is a very grungy, mossy green with some beige and some gray thrown in. And I'm contrasting it with just my undyed MCN. I am doing yet another pair of DK socks because I'm on the DK sock bandwagon. And these are my Njord socks. Look at these. These are the Njord socks from Nancy Wheeeler. Look at how beautiful those are. And what I love about her sock is she's got, let me take the sock off the sock blocker. It's probably easier to see. This is the leg of the sock. I love this pattern. You've got some cables, like a pearl, a knit pearl, and then a more cable. And then what I really enjoy is she's put a little detail. It's nothing big, but it's just this nice single. So it's a pearl and a rib, some purling and some slip stitches on the back. And it just gives the sock such wonderful detail. And again, the only modification I made, did I make any other modifications? No, the one modification I made was my cuff. I used the Cider House sock cuff pattern from Summer Lee. I did cast on 48 stitches as required. Yay. I know myself, I need a little extra room in the heel, so I actually knit 16 repeats of the heel flap. And then, did I do anything else? Rounded toe, I like the rounded toe. I would probably next time I started my decreases in the rounded toe right after I cast on the cream color. I should have probably knit 3 rows and then started the cast off because the toe's just a little short to my liking, but that's okay. So this is a half finished object. That's a half finished object. So I consider this to be a work in progress. Hopefully those will be finished the next time. I've tried it on, probably the best fitting sock, DK sock I have. It's only the 4th pair of DK socks I have, but this one fits much tighter to the foot than this one. This one is a little bit loose because I started with too many stitches, I think. And this workhorse sock yarn from Black Cat Custom Yarn is a sturdier yarn. It's held double and it's just sturdier than these two. These were a much finer yarn. So for socks, really recommend Black Cat Custom Yarns out of Chilliwack. So loving it, and I love the green. Look at all the different types of green. Ah, my grungy Njord socks. I love them, love them, love them. Okay, whip number 2, work in progress number 2. Now this is why having knitting buddies is so wonderful because you get inspired And we knit with the idea that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So this project is inspired by Jackie, who is Darkling Thrush Art on Ravelry, and one of my knitting models from 2 weeks ago. And this is the Edgar Slipover in a very festive take on the Edgar Slipover. So I'm gonna hide me, but I'll put a picture over there somewhere. And this is a free pattern. It's a free pattern from Hobbi or Hobbi. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it. And I am knitting it using Hobbi yarn, which is this Go Handmade Vintage, which is a DK bamboo blend. It's 70% wool, 30% bamboo, holding it together with a strand of Sweet Skein of Mine, Amanda's Sweet Skein of Mine out of New Brunswick, in her tickled pink. This is her mohair? Yes, this is her mohair, silk mohair in tickled pink. And last but not least, the bling. And this is called, what is this called, this bling? This bling is called, oops, I'm stuck to it. Everything's stuck now. This is King Cole Cosmos. King Cole Cosmos. There you go. In color 1095, Galactica. King Cole Cosmos, and this is from the Crafty Jackalope. I think her name's also Amanda. Crafty Jackalope out of Burnaby or Vancouver. But anyway, local to me. So those three yarns are being held together because the pattern does require a worsted weight. What else can I tell you about the pattern? So the Edgar Slipover is by Johanna Garish. You've seen a picture already. It's a free pattern. In her version, she's holding a lace plus a sport. In mine, I'm holding a DK plus a lace and a lace. So a little bit more. I opted, the pattern requires, for the body of it, a 6mm needle. That gauge was too loose for me. I ended up having very loopy stitches. So I went down to a 5. And because it's such an oversized vest, I went up a size. So I went down a needle size, up a pattern size. Everything else I kept the same. I've tried it on several times, and so far so good. What I did is I did end up doing the neckline. They give you 3 different options for how to pick up the stitches. I had to opt for the option that gave me the most stitches. I did the neckline twice, and if you saw my Instagram post, you saw me cutting out my first neckline. I like to do the necklines first so that everything pulls in and I kind of know I won't have to worry whether or not the length is going to be impacted at some point by putting on the neckline. I don't know if that actually makes sense. I don't know if the neckline actually pulls the sweater up at all, but I thought it might. So I decided not to do it in advance. But I did it the first time, and I picked up according to one schedule, and I ended up with this tiny little V right up here. And the whole garment pulled up. So I guess I just answered my own question. So because this is knit with mohair and a strand of bling, there was no, and a tubular bind off. See, I learned tubular bind off with Irene Ling's pattern, and I loved it. Irene Lynn's pattern, and I loved it so much, I did it again. You can't unpick that, not with 3 strands of fiber. So I cut it. I did surgery. I cut it right down the middle, all the way around, and then I unpicked what I could. And I started again, and now it's much better. It fits properly. So that was something that happened. And now I have to knit to a certain number of inches on the end, and I love this. I don't know, hope you can see that, but look at the ribbing detail on the side. So that's where your increases are hiding. It's slightly A-lined at the bottom, and I love that. And then it's going to be a split hem. So this I am hoping to have done very soon. I was hoping to have it done for Valentine's Day, but I don't think I'm going to finish it, but I'll try. But it's so festive, so very, very festive. And it's not blocked yet, but there we go. And this vest is much narrower in the shoulders than the Irene Lynn Aura vest. So it doesn't give me that oversized look. It gives a nice tailored look at the shoulder and then A-line through the body. So absolutely loving it. So that is finished object number 2, and it is in one of my Woolen Frog bags by Carol. She is a Canadian project bag maker on Etsy. And so this one's got chickens and needles and yarn, and I love it. I love it. So last, this was a cast on when I just had cast on-itis. I may have cast on a few other things, but I'm not going over them today. So the sweater that I cast on is the Missoni Accomplished by Espace Tricot. Now, I've had this sweater in my library since the beginning of when Melissa and Lisa started podcasting and Melissa started designing, and it was free. It's no longer a free pattern and completely understandable. There's a lot of support that's required, especially for new knitters when they choose a pattern. So Espace Tricot was sold to two lovely, lovely ladies. And they are continuing on with the tradition of creating a lot of patterns. So check out Espace Tricot if you get a chance. But this Missoni Accomplished was a classic Melissa design, who is now Sonder Yarns. And like I said, I've had this one forever. And the yarn that I've also had for a significant amount of time is from Fleece and Harmony in Kim's Celtic Cashmere base. Now, Fleece and Harmony is on Prince Edward Island, and she has a beautiful farm. They have their own sheep and they have their own mill. And then they also get wool from other farmers as well. However, this is the Celtic Cashmere yarn is a release that only happens once a year, usually in January. I'm so mad at myself. I completely missed this year's batch. Very upset. But anyway, this is what it looks like. These are the ones I've got. So it's Fleece and Harmony's Celtic Cashmere, and it is 85% wool, 15% cashmere. This color is oyster. This color is crow wings. And these two colors are making my Missoni Accomplished. Now, interestingly enough, on Ravelry, it was listed as sport. And I think, and then I was just watching the Fleece and Harmony podcast, and Kim was talking about how they had just released this year's batch of Celtic Cashmere, which I missed. And she says it's more like a light DK, a DK, light DK. Well, that's interesting because this one is definitely DK and this one is a light DK. So they're not quite the same. And that's what happens when you get with small batch makers and mills, etc. Not a problem. They work really well together, but the pattern calls for sport weight. So am I making any adjustments? No, I'm not making any adjustments. But what I am doing is I am making size 3, which is the 49 inch. I have kept everything the same. I am using the same needles. There's nothing that I can say about this. It is currently in another Woolen Frog bag. I do believe this is another one from Carol. And this is where I am at. Oh, I am just loving. Look at that. Sorry, my lighting's going off because I've lost all the light. It's snowing out as I sit here. It has started to snow. So look at how pretty that is. Oh, you cannot see this on the camera. It is, because if I go close, it washes out. That is more true to the colors. It is a deep black, a beautiful lustrous black. It is not flat. It's got lots of depth to it. And this oyster has a hint of tonal gray that's on the bluish gray side, which really is a lovely, lovely complement. Now, thanks to Leanne from the Knitty Stew, I too no longer carry or catch my floats. I just do it all as one long strand, and it seems to be working, especially with woolly wools. It seems to work just fine. And what you cannot see on camera is the absolute comfort and squish of this yarn. I'm so mad I missed the next run. I would have loved another sweater's quantity of this particular yarn. It is fabulous. How can I describe this yarn to you? It is bouncy. It is bouncy. It is loosely plied. How many plies does it have? I think it's a 3-ply maybe, or no, 2-ply, 3-ply. How many plies is in this? Does it say? Does it say on my actual yarn? Is it a 2-ply? It doesn't say how many plies it is. It does tell me that you get 250 yards, which is kind of a natural decay, one would think. And I'm just trying to figure out, I can't tell how many plies that is, but I think it's a 2-ply. I think it's a 2-ply, but it's just bouncy, springy, fluffy, has this amazing, again, you might not be able, it has a beautiful halo without adding anything to it, and it's not shedding. But benefit to having a yarn that isn't full of mohair, and it's, I love it. I love it. I am just at the point I have to knit a little bit more, and then I'm going to split for the sleeves. And then I do the next stripe. So this is, again, it was an impromptu cast on. Highly recommend the pattern. It's very straightforward, very well written, as all the patterns that I've been dealing with are. So that was my whips that I started in January. Excellent. Wonderful. So now let's move on to a little bit of dream knitting, or what's going to be theoretically on my needles next. There's a couple of patterns that I have been looking at that I'm very eager to knit, but I can't cast on all of them. I don't think I can. Maybe I can. I don't know. But there's two I wanted to highlight for you because these are not designers that I am familiar with, but I thought it would be fun to go over them. And they are now both in my queue. They have similarities, but let's go with the first one. The first one is a pattern that just came out from Ficolana, which is a yarn company. It is a free pattern, and this pattern is called Sketchbook. So I'll put a picture up. What I love about this pattern is, I should say it's made by Thea Vesterby. I really like the construction. When I look at it, I think there might be a tiny bit of ribbing at the neck, not much. It is then you knit the back, knit to and shape the armholes, and then you pick up the stitches for the front, and then work down, join the front, shape the armholes, and then join everything and knit in the round. I really like that back seam. I think it gives a very nice fit and tends to look a little less boxy than if you just have a straight drop shouldered type of sweater. I don't know why that is. There's something about the drape of that shoulder that is just a little closer to the body. I like very much that the only ribbing I see is right at the collar. I don't see, you've got just a gathered cuff and literally almost like an I-cord. Now I'm not 100% positive, I haven't read the full pattern, but there's no ribbing. There's no big set of ribbing at the bottom. It is fingering weight held with silk mohair, so light fingering and lace. It's made with a 3.5 millimeter or 4 millimeter needle, which I think is a US 6 and a US 5, a US 5 and a US 6. A halo type of texture that softens the geometric pattern. I like the geometric pattern. I think it's very feminine in this particular sweater. And I have sweaters that are nice and big and woolly. I'd like to have a couple sweaters that are a little dressier and a little bit, yeah, just a little more refined looking. So I really liked this one. It's called the Sketchbook by Ficolana. The second one I'm looking at is called, I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly, the Rikke sweater, Rikke sweater, not too sure, by Katrina Hannibal from Rikke Johnson. Knit with Oling yarn, and I do not know how to pronounce that either, but it's O with 2 little dots, L-I-N-G, Oling yarn. So this sweater, again, very similar to the previous one. Love the texture, love the look of the drape that I'm seeing in the pictures. I like the mock turtle. I've been wanting to make my turtle dove again. If you followed me, you knew I felted my last one and it shrank. But the way I did the turtle dove is I did a turtleneck that you didn't fold over. It just was almost like a mock turtle, and I like this one. This one also doesn't have clear cut ribbing anywhere. So not on there's no cuffs, no ribbing on the neckline, nor at the bottom. It just has a nice finish. I like the drape. It looks like the pattern is not that complicated. It looks like a combination of purl and knit stitches and eyelets. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. It is raglan. I'm liking that. What I really love about this pattern is it's an Aran weight yarn. Now, it says an Aran weight yarn because this yarn, which is Oling, or Oling, I'm not too sure how you pronounce it, is an Aran weight yarn that is 75% wool, 25% Angora. So it's quite lofty. It's got quite a bit of halo. And they're knitting it with a 4.0 millimeter needle or a 6 US needle. The yarn, I think, on that one is going to be a very important call because I think you might get a totally different looking sweater if you use a heavy yarn. So those are the 2 sweaters that I would like to start. Not too sure which one first. Those are the ones, but let's look at the yarn that I'm looking at. So, excuse the crinkling. For the Ficolana, which was light fingering and silk mohair, I have this yarn. I have the Titicaca from Holt's Garn, Titicaca, which, does this tell me what the color is? Does it not tell me the color? It's a pink. It's maybe the plaster too. No, it's pink. What's the color? Does it? Nude. The color is called Nude. And that is almost a lace weight as well. And then we have the Knitting for Olive in the silk mohair in the color Cloud, which is just a blush, or yeah, it's just a blush. So it will lighten up this pink a little bit. So, I already have a pink sweater, but this is a totally different style. Everything about this is different. So that would be for the Ficolana is what I'm thinking, because that would be very light, very airy. I could make it a bit oversized and it would drape, so I like that. For the Rikke sweater, okay, all of this is stash. I am trying very hard to stick to my stash. Now, the Rikke sweater, which is the mock turtleneck with the eyelets, I have this 100% alpaca. So, that already is a question mark in my mind. And I do believe your yarn choice in this pattern is going to make or break the sweater in terms of how it drapes. So I do not want this sweater to be too stiff, and I don't want it to be too heavy. But this is Iliamani, 100% alpaca, that I have had in my stash since 2017. This is the first yarn that I ever bought that was a sweater's quantity of yarn. And I bought it from the Little Mermaid, I think it's called the Little Mermaid yarn store in Nova Scotia, when Patrick and I went on holiday. And I wanted to pair it. Now I could do just the plain alpaca because this is an Aran weight alpaca. Oh, maybe I just do it in alpaca. I could do it in just alpaca. But then I kind of wanted to pair it with this beautiful Shibui silk mohair in the color ash. It just will add a little bit of lightness to it, I think. It will add a lot of warmth. So I'm not sure. What do you think? Should I just do the alpaca or should I blend it with a little bit? See, I love this color. I love the shine. I don't dislike alpaca. Those are my two choices. So those are the patterns that I am contemplating, casting on next. Nobody asked me about Patrick's sweater. Please. Trust that it is still in the works, but it might take me years to finish it. So I'm not going to actually talk about Patrick's sweater anymore in 2025 until it's finished. So there you go. That's the thing. So that is it for the knitting content. I'm just going to go into a little bit of chatter, which is going to be more about goals or whatever for 2025. So if you want to stick around for that, that's great. If you sign off here, I totally understand. I hope everyone is having a fabulous a fabulous February so far. And hopefully you're not in the snow. Like Vancouver doesn't get much snow. We get a little bit every year and the city shuts down. It's ridiculous. Needless to say. Okay, so if you're leaving, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And if you're sticking around, let's talk about the do's and don'ts of 2025. So 2025. Every year for the last, 5 years, I've been setting knitting goals and choosing a word and thinking about patterns that I want to put on my Make 9 list. And I have looked back at my journals for the last 3 or 4 years. I don't stick to anything. Pretty much like the MCALs. I'm terrible at following my own thoughts. So I've decided 2025 is just going to be, and I learned this wonderful saying in Spain, this Spanish saying, pasa lo que pasa. What happens, happens. Pasa lo que pasa. So that is 2025. Pasa lo que pasa is 2025. I am just going to embrace my stash, embrace all of the inspiration that I get through all of you and from my knitting buddies and podcasts. And I'm just gonna knit what I knit. I'm gonna crochet what I want to crochet, and I'm gonna do it as fast or as slow as I deem fit in any one given moment. So that might impact the content of podcasts, but hopefully it'll still be good. Hopefully you'll still be inspired by some of the projects or get a good kick out of my shenanigans, because I always run into trouble. So that is sort of the crux of it. I love podcasting. I'm hoping to continue that. Yeah. And I know you're all asking about my mom. My mom is coming back. We are actually going to sit down this weekend and do a podcast. My mother's social calendar is so full that I have to book an appointment with my mother. She's having the time of her life. So everything is good at this end. I hope everything is good with you. I hope the new year, I know it was a very rough start for many, many people, certainly in California with the fires. That seems to have abated. We have things going on between Canada and the US that shall remain nameless that is impacting our dollar and, a lot of consumers in Canada and a lot of businesses in Canada. So hopefully all of this will work out and we will continue to have the great relationships with our neighbors to the south economically as we've always had. I'm pretty optimistic about that. But it has been a challenging start for a lot of people in many ways, myself included. So I can appreciate it. Hopefully your crafting brings you comfort and that you don't feel stressed or anxious about your crafting, and that you, if it is causing you any kind of anxiety, step back, take stock, why, and then just choose a different path with it, you know? For me, I'm not going to be as structured going forward. So I tend to be quite a goals-oriented person. So this year I'm just going to kind of let it kind of be what it's going to be. So on that note, I will say thank you so much for spending the time with me, and I thoroughly enjoy being able to share my knitting adventures and misadventures with you. So until next time, stay well, enjoy your knitting, get inspiration from wherever you can, and I look forward to speaking with you the next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.